I've been hearing that for the last 10 years. Some of the other examples like prepaid customers, what would be there, the next download, etc. Again, hearing for the last whole lot of years, God knows how many years, since the time I have been part of the BI team of PwC. So where are the innovations? Where have we really moved with the analytics? We talk about so many things, but still with same examples, same things we talk about. That's what I also hear from the CEOs when they talk about analytics. They're very myopic in their vision. They're talking about very traditional use of BI. We need insights. So for the last 10 years, with such great tools being there, Cognos, Business Objects, and all these tools being there, SAS, SPSS, all these data mining tools being there. So where were the insights? If you have not got insights for the last 12 years, then still you expect insights to come out from the information, then what the hell has analytics been doing? That has been the challenge. That is the biggest thing that has been mind-blowing, that with so many good technologies, we still talk about just insights. Believe me, the leadership doesn't need insights anymore. Insights can only give this much of intelligence. They need the wisdom to be created in them. They need the guidance. They need someone to tell them what should be the next action. Otherwise, getting the insight, they would again have to think about, okay, what should I do? If insights are based on 1,000 parameters, an action, like our Honorable Minister mentioned in the morning, an action depends on 2,000 parameters. So it's even more mind-blowing. So what we see, organizations behave like the Red Queen in Alice in Wonderland. So they would stand at position, they would run faster and faster, but move nowhere. The same, and again they would lose interest, and then again a CIO would talk about, as someone said in the morning, 83% of the CIOs are telling that they have a big focus on analytics and BI. I have been hearing that again for the last 10 years. So all the CIOs have been telling that we have a big focus on analytics and BI. So what have you been doing? Again, because these technologies have been throwing up insights, throwing up more information, the problem lies there. So perhaps we need to move to the next level. We have to think about action, throwing actions, throwing inferences, throwing conclusions rather than insights. That's what is needed. And that's what, like when we talk about the strategy and analytics team in IBM, that's what we have been doing. We've been talking about merging these things together. So in 2011, in 2007, we started doing a research. It was a research project called IBM Watson. And then in 2011, if you have been following IBM Watson, you know that it won a game called Jeopardy. It was a quiz game. It defeated 2 quizzing stalwarts in the US in that particular game. People was asking the machine questions in English. Like for example, can an alligator take part in a 100 meters hurdles race? That kind of a question. Human language, English, okay? Maybe even in Chinese. Don't ask me to speak Chinese anyway. So Chinese or whatever language. And Watson was able to understand the question, get an answer faster than the 2 human beings who were sitting there. It won Jeopardy in 2011. So that was the journey of IBM Watson, which is one of the flagship products of IBM. And it's into the domain of cognitive computing, and it's beyond analytics. It's something bigger than analytics. It merges analytics and then leads to action. It throws up action. So is it the Google? Google also, if you would go on typing, it's also gives you answers. So is it the Google from IBM? No, it's not the Google from IBM. Google retrieves and IBM Watson creates. It creates wisdom. It creates knowledge. It's a thinking machine. It's a new generation machine. It's a thinking machine. It's a very different level of analytics. It's thinking analytics. Let me give some examples of that, because talking about innovation, that's what I have been working on for the last 2 years, helping organizations in innovating their next big move, in thinking about the next big game. And of course, analytics played a huge role in that. So some examples of where Watson is drastically changing the way people have been kind of looking at analytics. So this is an example from US, one hospital in US called Sloan Kettering. So they are using Watson in lungs and breast cancer. So all the medical journals, which are English text, written in various languages, written in various forms, Microsoft Word or even printed papers, scanned printed papers, PDFs, all these are getting inside a box, which is the Watson machine. Okay? Then prescriptions across the US, prescriptions are going in. Then genomics data, genomics of individuals, just drawn from pricking your finger and small droplet of blood. Lots of information can come out from there too. So lots of genomic information that's going into that. And now when I am coming and telling that, okay, I am a patient of, say, high cholesterol, because I have been on a strictly red meat diet, and then I have a tendency to not to sleep in the night because I work till very late. I am a consultant, okay, and then I hate strong perfumes. Any person coming close to me in strong perfumes, okay, male persons coming close to me in strong perfumes, and so I'm this kind of a person. So that data gets fed into the system, into Watson, and then Watson tells, for me, there are 3 care paths, which are possible, 3 care paths, A, B, C. In fact, it can also throw more. And with the top 3 having a probability of 80% success in curing my particular problem. And of these 3 things, if I select path B, there is a probability of 80% to succeed. So which is the best path? Path B. But if I go by path B, then only 40% of my medical expenses get covered by insurance. A, more percentage gets covered by insurance, but perhaps it would not succeed like the option B. Yeah. Okay. So that's what it does. It shows lots of predictions. Similarly, another example is from the Australia ANZ Bank. So they're using Watson for underwriting. So when I apply for an insurance coverage, it will do an underwriting in seconds. Whole lot of parameters, whole lot of external data that goes into that, and then brings out the underwriting prediction, whether I should be given that insurance policy or not. So there are a whole lot of examples how this Watson is changing the entire face of analytics. And when we talk about the Business Analytics Hub in Kolkata, just my parting words, I think we should think different. I think there will be many cities which might be thinking about setting up analytics hub, knowledge city, etc. We should from the very beginning think about being different. We should think about think ahead analytics hub, not really just analytics hub. So that's what I thought I should talk about. I wanted to cover a bit more stuff. But if you want to learn more about IBM Watson, please feel free to connect with me. In fact, there are esteemed colleagues of mine who are sitting out there who are also experts in the domain, so we can talk about IBM Watson. And keep an eye on the media, keep an eye on internet. This is going to change the whole game of analytics in the coming years. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Souvik. And now I'll request Mr. Raghupati to come out with his ideas and thoughts.
So, this being an after lunch session, let me make it a little interactive and light. I'm sure that many in the first row will raise your hands to this question. How many of you have given a business talk outside your organization? I'm sure that all of you have. How many of you have given a business talk in Hard Rock Cave? Well, I did, so it's different. Why am I saying this in the context of opportunities and innovation and analytics? If you go down, if at least in Bangalore, Hyderabad, etc., one of the key things which I think Ideapolis will do here is stimulate entrepreneurship. Today, if you ask any kid coming out of Bangalore, my son is just finishing his 12th, he's in fact writing his 12th, lot of tension at home. He says, I want to do a startup. I teach in Manipal University, I fly down there every Saturday, go for lunch to the cafeteria. The kids come around. They don't ask me, can you give me a job in Infosys or give me a recommendation. They say, sir, do you give me an idea for a startup? So, Today's world of innovation is extremely different. And let me walk you through some of the technological reasons it is so, and some of the economic reasons it is so, and some of the demographic reasons it is so, and in the context of analytics. So, let's, the technology landscape today is like, I think, this famous saying is the best of time and the worst of times. All old isms are gone, and there is a set of new technologies that is changing as we speak. And what does this mean to analytics? Let me give you an example. We always thought of a system, we always knew the internet and all that, but then we thought, okay, this is going to be a system for Infosys, this is going to be a system for an income tax department, this is going to be a system for intelligence bureau, this is going to be a system for the state transport, etc. But today in the world of analytics, you cannot have a system which is isolated and just take, it's a very, very puerile definition if you say I'm only going to take analytics out of my system. Those days are gone. Let me give you an example with which we work. This for the, I just couch it by saying it's for the Ministry of Home Affairs. There was, we have built a huge system, and there were some alerts, and we found that somebody was drawing 3 times with the same, 3 times there was a drawal within a very small area from an ATM of 20,000 rupees in curfew-bound Srinagar when there was rioting and there was curfew there. Okay, how did we do that? There was GIS. We had logged to the bank's database. The bank's database showed us that in the GIS this is curfew-bound and you're giving this answer. Then we sort of traced that individual. We found all the 3 belong to the same individual. So obviously you'll have to have access to credit card databases. Then we found that how did he get to Srinagar? So he had taken a train. So we had to go into the IRCTC database. Then we found that he had flown in from Bombay to Delhi. So go back to the airline database. And then find where did he come in to Bombay from. Immigration database shows he came in from somewhere in the Middle East. Of course, finally they arrested him, and that's a different story. But the moral behind this story is very simple, that analytics as we know it is changing. It's just not something sitting on a huge transaction system where you can get out data and you can work on it. Okay? So that's the first technological change that is happening. The second technological change. We have just finished a huge smart grid project for Government of Karnataka. 100 towns in the Government of Karnataka, 78,000 transformers. Each of those transformers have a modem. Every 15 minutes they are beaming out metadata. Now, people who are in metadata management will know that you are talking about 78,000, let's say round it off to 50,000 if you will, or 10,000. Every 15 minutes is beaming out data, 24 hours a day, 365 days in a year. Look at the amount of data that's gathered there. But what use is this data? If you are expecting an assistant executive engineer who's sitting in BESCOM's field office to take out this data, scan through it and make sense out of it, he's not going to be able to do it. So what's going to happen? You need very fast computing. But there's something parallelly happening, which I'll come back to this fast computing. If you look at, I think we had a lot of great presentations on smart cities in the pre-lunch session. But if you look at smart energy, smart water, smart security, etc., where life has changed is, I would say, the Internet of Things, or let me decompose it. There are sensors which are going to be embedded inside electrical systems. There are sensors which are going to be embedded inside water systems. There are sensors in security systems. Now these sensors get data. Through communication media, they send it back to a software, and the software sends it back. Today, people look at the result and possibly then take an action. But increasingly, at least in the field that I sort of have an interest in, which is smart grids, the relays open up automatically. But for that to happen, your speed of computing has to be high. Now, is your usual von Neumann architecture going to work? Which is why my present boss Vishal Sikka at HANA, which is in-memory computing. We are working with the University of Stanford to develop all that stuff. But then, this need for high-performance computing, where all this data is analyzed in a jiffy and sent back, which makes sense to the user, is going to be a key differentiator. So that's the key difference. That is the second key differentiation. First key differentiation, software has to talk to each other to get meaningful analytics. Second key differentiation, there's going to be extremely high-speed performance computing. The third, which is a very interesting paradigm, but before I go there, let me give you an economic fact. In 2010, the world GDP was $55 trillion. 30 trillion was from the OECD countries. 2020, they are talking about 100, 102 trillion. At that level, it really doesn't matter. A few trillion really doesn't matter, does it? So, you're going to talk about $60 trillion coming from non-OECD countries, or $55 trillion. It's the first time since Christopher Columbus crossed the ocean that the non-OECD countries are going to have a GDP greater than OECD countries. By 2030, that is going to be far more. By 2030, they are talking about $140 trillion with 67% coming from non-OECD countries. So what does this mean? This means that the way people buy IT is different. Okay, what does that mean? We are all used to, in this landscape of talking about products which are very standard, all of them are good friends of mine, so SAS, SAP, Oracle, IBM, so on and so forth. But today people are saying, I want an analytics software which is tailored to my need and written in open source. Okay? Now, whether, I'm not getting into the debate of whether that's right or wrong, I'm just talking about a trend. Okay? Maybe it is all these three technical influences that is influencing customers' decisions. Let me give you a key example. Most of you know what a content delivery network is. A content delivery network is a network which is able to take content and deliver it at that particular place. Especially with the confluence of internet, with the confluence of TV, and with the confluence of media, all the three, you will have to deliver content where it is needed immediately. What we have developed for one of the telecom companies which is going on is that we have developed it on open source, which is at half the cost of Akamai, and most government departments today are saying, can you develop open source content delivery networks? All this comes back to why I was at the Hard Rock Cave. Most youngsters today, and youngsters today are far different, they have not grown up with isms, at least in the VC world, see a lot of opportunity in developing innovative small products for analytics. And that's where I think we should be focusing on, because it's an opportunity for the country, it's an opportunity for Calcutta, it's an opportunity for Ideapolis to ride these trends, to sort of incubate these companies run by youngsters who are not bound by isms into this next world of analytics. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raghupati. Inspiring youngsters to be innovative is a big challenge. If we have the time, I'll explain later on. We now move on to Mr. Arnab Basu to hear his thoughts.
Thank you, Pratishtha. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Absolute pleasure to be here and talking to you. We heard quite a few views around how analytics is changing the lives across the globe. I think one of the few things which we need to consider when we talk of analytics is what is happening in the digital world, which is also helping the use of analytics or the application of analytics. I think today in the digital world we are in a situation where we are sort of like anytime, anywhere, any device we have access to data, right? So that's something which has changed. And Shobhik, you were talking about how, analytics and the concept has been there for a long time, and what we are not being able to do this, for the last few years. I think that's definitely changed. Also, I think in terms of, looking at analytics, and many of us, spoke about it, probably we have made that journey from, going from descriptive to diagnostic to, predictive, and probably now prescriptive analytics. So we have moved from, just diagnosing the problem, we have moved to predicting some of the problems, or predicting some of the things which are going to come up. And then in many cases also prescribing, how it would, need to be tackled. And one of the few things which is helping us obviously is, Internet of Things, how the sensors, Mr. Raghupati spoke about, how they are changing the way, the entire paradigm of, data capture. Now, with all this background, I think some of the key things which we are seeing in our clients in India, where the clients are really, moving in with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of interest, is around embedded analytics, where you embed analytics into workflows, you embed analytics into normal transactions, which earlier were just simple transactions, right? So when I'm going through a particular workflow, maybe it is a workflow to, approve something, how do you embed analytics into that so that I don't do it blind, I don't do it based on my gut feel, but I also do it based on a lot of analytics which has already been done, and probably some of it, Shobhik, you were, mentioning as well. So embedded analytics is something which, specifically in the manufacturing sector, we are finding a huge amount of, focus on it, interest around it. The other thing which is happening, and, coming back to the topic around innovation, is, when we look at social media, it's not about, sentiment analytics in social media. It is going far beyond into, can we do crowdsourcing to innovate? We have had clients who are using social media platforms not only to look at the sentiments, but also to have an interaction, and in all of this trying to crowdsource ideas around product design. Can I use my customers, can I use my future consumers to tell me what they want in the product? And we have had significant work being done in many of product design companies, where they feel that the product design is the key to success for them, where they're working on it. And we have had working with a large automobile player now, who are using social media analytics and crowdsourcing to innovate the product. They're trying to understand that if it's a two-wheeler product, but it is being used by Indians to carry a family of 3 rather than a family of 2, or just 2 people, what kind of product innovations you need, which these families can tell us, which will allow them to make the product different. So that's the second trend that we are seeing. The third one which we are seeing, and many of us touched upon it, and I think we also heard about it in the previous session when we were talking about smart cities, is around climate driven analytics. When we look at the climate, and a lot of our lives, a lot of our behaviors are centered around the climate, it's centered around the weather. How do I look at climate data, and based on the climate data and based on my analytics on that, look at consumer products, pharmaceutical products, healthcare products, how do I link it back to my smart grids? How do I link it back to my smart watering devices? And how do I look at it? So when we are looking at the India is obviously going to spend a lot of money on smart cities, and we are going to go the way many of our Western counterparts have done. But even before that, because we have climate data available, a lot of companies, a lot of industries are investing heavily into how do I look at climate data, and based on that look at consumer behavior, consumer patterns, and how do I work on that. The other one which obviously many of us again talked of was around the huge interest right now around wearables, around mobility, and what that is doing in terms of not only capturing the data from those devices, but also in terms of analyzing those data and then taking predictive calls based on that. So whether it is something as mundane as insurance premiums based on wearable device data, to something as complicated as probably advising people in deep-rooted healthcare issues. I think the usage of these wearables and how they are being used is going into a completely different trajectory right now, and that is something which we expect is here to stay. More and more wearable data is going to come in. We are going to have open platforms, open operating systems where most of these devices can dump data, and based on that people can pick that up depending on privacy laws, and based on that healthcare, insurance, financial services, even some of our other parameters around consumer behavior can be detected and planned. Finally, I think when you put all of that together and come back to the enterprise, one of the key things we are looking at very differently, and many of our clients are looking at, is how do I do employee interaction based analytics. I think that's the last thing I wanted to touch upon, where the voice of the employee, which was earlier only going to social media, only going to some blogs, some forums, how do I look at that? Can I create a wall where I look at dashboards, where I look at the voice of the employee coming in? Can I make those employees contribute far more, engage far more with the enterprise? So that, I think, is another area where a lot of our customers are focusing on. It's obviously having a huge impact on employee engagement, and I think that's the other trend which we are seeing. So these are the top 5 trends which we at PwC are seeing within our customers, and thought that this would be of interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Arnob. I like the concept of a wall, where the thoughts and ideas of the employees will get blocked from going outside and get reflected back into the organization to be used appropriately. Thank you. May I now ask Mr. Amit Khanna to please.
Hello. First of all, my apologies for coming late. Unfortunately, in spite of being an analytics guy, I can't predict how much time it will take from Salt Lake to Taj Bengal. I think coming back on the same point to what perhaps Souvik was trying to say, the opportunity for innovation in analytics lies in the fact of how we can solve our day-to-day problem. And I will talk about the concept in a second. But predominantly what I'm saying is that if any analytics tool can tell me that I'm starting from Salt Lake, it's going to take me 45 minutes or 1 hour to reach Taj, that's the analytics which we need. We don't need analytics which comes with a large complicated systems. We need analytics which solve the basic problem of what we face every day. In terms of